It was interesting how I changed my perspective on business just by doing it, which has been our mantra ever since. Like, if you're not doing it, you're just talking about it, just shut up.
What is servant leadership?
My take on it, and I think most people who are running companies, it's a huge responsibility to have staff, because you don't just have the staff, you have the staff's family. And so I've always made it a point that my real job is to serve them. And I say this all the time in interviews: if you tell me what I just said to you back, you're never going to get a job here, because I don't need you. Why am I paying you to just repeat what I'm saying? I want you to have a different perspective. I want that kind of environment.
But I saw that you have a film studio. This is something you've done. So I want to learn about that. Like, how did that come about? How did you get into that?
People in LA, and I used to have a studio in LA, they sell the poster before they ever make the film. Like, Look at this cool poster. I was like, I don't care about the poster. I want to do the film, right? And I got to get that done first. So I always liked the creation of it. An owner, and I said this a million times, you have to defy physics and gravity, because crap has to roll up to you. You can't let it go to your people. We are trained from a young age in education to listen to the teacher and spit it back at them, and then I get a good grade. So we're training them to be robotic, not to creatively think or critically analyze. It's just to rinse and repeat. That's not going to work. That doesn't work. I mean, businesses change almost every day.
This show is all about helping entrepreneurs, giving them tidbits along the way, helping them get better at their craft, and just learning new stuff along the way. So it's a show that I like to have for curiosity's sake too, just to learn more about how to get better and how to improve. So I love to hear about some of your background. How did you get started in this world? Let's start there.
Yeah, I mean, I started out of necessity when I was 13. My mother's off the boat. My father was a cop. They were never going to be able to afford college. I wanted to be a doctor. So I was like, I got to make a living, and I think you can make more money by building something yourself. So I did. It worked. It lasted all the way up to med school, but I've never stopped building companies since. So it wasn't like I had this big plan. It was out of pure necessity that I had to start something and make it work. And the things I learned there is probably one of the silliest companies I should have held on to and not sold, because I learned a lot of the structures of what became our culture and our brand for a lot of companies afterwards, which is all about people. Because I hired my baseball and football team members.
Oh, wow.
We were tight. We already had the teamwork down, and I took that model and applied it to a lot of other companies since. So,
which company was that you built and you were like, oh man, I shouldn't have let someone go?
It started as a property management company, and then it morphed into also adding landscaping when we moved out of the city.
Okay.
Doing odd jobs. Anybody who lives in the city knows that if they get any help from the property management company, it's usually very late. So we played the whole thing that we're cheap and we can come do a lot of things. And I learned to do a lot of things. I made a lot of mistakes because I'm not very handy. I'm really good at deconstruction, though. If you need something broken, I'm the person.
So you hired a bunch of friends that you were like a bunch of your buddies that you just already knew.
Yep.
How was that? Because I feel like that could go one of two ways. Either it goes horribly awry or it's the best thing ever.
And I don't recommend this to everybody else, but this was a certain slice of life, right? I was the youngest one out of all of them. I needed some older people around me, right? Certain age groups to make this kind of work. But also we were already a team, a fairly high functioning sports team. So you learn a lot from sports and teamwork. And, I was we were all probably too naive to kind of have the politics and squabbles that happen to some startups. And we didn't really have ego because we just trying to do something to make money. That's pretty much. So, and I carry a lot of that forward. Like, I mean, my one lesson is I wanted to make money. That was the reason. But very quickly, I realized that I love servant leadership, because at that age, especially, you don't just answer to your staff and your clients, you answer to your staff's parents. What are you guys doing? Where are you going? Why are you disappearing for hours on end, right? So it was interesting how I changed my perspective on business just by doing it, which has been our mantra ever since. Like, if you're not doing it, you're just talking about it, just shut up.
What is servant leadership? You talk about that, and I know that's on your LinkedIn, but I'm curious.
Yeah. So for me, there's a lot of different ways of looking at leadership. You can look at the title, you can be very autocratic, dictatorial. My take on it, and I think most people who are running companies, it's a huge responsibility to have staff, because you don't just have the staff, you have the staff's family. And so I've always made it a point that my real job is to serve them, to make sure they have the training, they have the resources, they have the support. And that's not just business support, that's personal support, to kind of enjoy their life, do the best they can, and not come to work being worried about being fired. And if, I know you looked at some stuff. The only thing I ever talk about is that I'm really proud that we got to have 100% retention in most of our companies for decades. So
how do you achieve that 100, like nearly 100% retention? Like, that's one of the hardest things.
it's a lot of work, right? And some companies don't need it. I do need it. It's the way I work best. I also am not a micromanager. So if I'm going to put a lot of effort and time into training my people and developing them, I want them to stay, because that in and outdoor model just costs you money. And I want really strong people. And because I don't micromanage, they have a lot of responsibility. Like, they're semi-autonomous. So they're held very accountable. We all are. But it's just a lot of work. And we have a very long vetting process to get into any of our companies now. Because we know that once you're in, you're not going to leave. And obviously it's tied into incentives. And,
Right.
We have a lot of royalty share on all our projects. So.
Wow. So what sparked that? That's always been something that you've held from the beginning? Like, okay, hey, I want to create a company where people, they get in and then they stay forever. Or is that something that you kind of stumbled upon?
Well, I think I stumbled upon it by my first company, because I was with people I thought would be here forever. The sad part is you grow up with people, you think you're going to have a life together. And then, as we talked about before we started, the 9/11 hits and you lose a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Right. So, you can't replace connective tissue. And what really reinforced it is on the film studio I built. People used to say, this isn't a film studio or a film set because there's so few people and there's no noise. Because we've learned over time, well, we know how we work together, right? And this is based on Navy SEAL, right? Small units, cross-trained, do a lot of heavy lifting together.
Yeah.
And we built it on that model. Like, all my people had to learn all the skills. I had to learn them, even though some of them I'll never do. I just wanted to know what happens. And people it's the most silent set I've ever had. Nobody's yelling. And all we see is like gestures. And that reinforced when I started to really escalate or accelerate our startups. Because at a certain point, we figured out we had a system that worked. And then we literally do 12 to 20 a year. Like, we get it, right? And that was another reinforcing point, because I would never pick up on it. It's just, why do I have to yell at somebody if we're already working and I know that they're highly motivated to get the best shot? I don't need to be yelling to get them to do work. I'm not a big fan of that kind of oppressive management model.
Like,
and out of that spun our greatest mission statement. Like, we don't have to be right. We have to get it right. And that's literally sets the stage for everything else we do. We constantly strive to get it right for our clients and ourselves and our partners.
We don't have to be right. We have to get it right.
Yep. Because you can't be right most of the time. We're all human. We make a million mistakes. I mean, right before I came on, I spilled coffee all over myself again. Like, I do it all the time. Like, but all joking aside, we all make mistakes. And what we think's going to happen rarely happens. So you have to learn how to move with it or iterate with it. So if you hold other people to some kind of level where they can't make mistakes, then all they're doing is very weak work, because they're not taking risks.
Right.
Right. I want people to be free to think and share, as long as they can back it up. Right. That's the other thing of being right. You got to prove it.
Right.
But don't be afraid of saying something. And I say this all the time in interviews. If you tell me what I just said to you back, you're never going to get a job here, because I don't need you. Why am I paying you to just repeat what I'm saying? I want you to have a different perspective. I want that kind of environment.
Yeah.
So.
I agree because the flip side is you surround yourself with a bunch of yes men, right? And they're just telling you, they're just parroting it back to you. It's good to have diverse perspectives or someone to tell you like, no, actually, I think you're wrong here. We could do it this way. And they have a unique insight into the business. Maybe they're just closest to the front lines. And, it suddenly like their observation becomes something that is invaluable. And that's what helps propel the business to another level then.
Yeah, and that came about from my biggest failure. I created a tech company. I was still in school. I had built it with the money from the other company, and I had very smart older consultants around me, but they were literally just yesing me to death. We weren't running off the cliff.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still have a bias against consultants, even though we just built a consulting division in our company because I need it for scale. But that really solidified that I don't want people to agree with me.
Yeah.
I don't need it. I don't need that as ego food. I want you to just get the job done right. And I'm not always the right one to do it.
Yeah.
Because as a leader, you also have to follow. And that's hard for certain people to take.
I like that. As a leader, you also have to follow. I think some of the best people I've worked with and for, like they were also totally comfortable taking advice and perspective, and they actually listened instead of just dictating.
And that's a skill, right? Actively listening to comprehend, not just to think of what I'm going to say next.
Yeah. So when we were talking about this prior to, like I told you I went to school in Syracuse. You said you're from New York. I also, after I left Syracuse, I went to LA and worked at Warner Brothers. I was a lowly executive assistant, fetching coffee and taking lunch orders. It was miserable, but I learned a lot. Mainly how to get my ass kicked and just keep getting back up, right? But
and I think you read some of my scripts and threw them out.
Probably.
They usually give it to the executive assistant.
Oh yeah, I would have to write tons of coverage. So that's what I would work all week, and then like right at like 6 p.m. I remember my boss used to come in and just like I was like, oh, I can't wait. My friends are going here, going there, and I was like 22, so I was super pumped. And I just got paid too. And so like whatever money that would hit my account, that's all I had to spend. It's crazy. I haven't thought about this in so long. And then right at 6 p.m., right before she heads out, she's like, hey, I need coverage about this by Monday morning. And I'm like, there goes my entire weekend. So that's what would happen. But I saw that, you have a film studio. This is something that you've done. So I want to learn about that. Like, how did that come about? How did you get into that?
Yeah, I had grown up around it in New York City. Mm-hmm. I'd always looked at it as a very silly model because to be ultra creative, they almost have a factory system. Mm-hmm. And I was on enough sets to realize, especially where certain people only had certain jobs and it was very like factory oriented. And I was like, how are you creative in that environment? But more importantly, if you keep switching jobs, because most people in that industry keep a job a few days or a week and are done.
Right.
So after all these other debacles I had, and after I left school, I said, I want to try this, and I think I have a different model. And that's what we were talking about before, Navy SEAL, like understanding the Navy SEAL model of small team, multi-trained. I was like, I think this would work in the film world as an independent studio. And part of that retention we were talking about 100%, the people I hired when I was 19 are still with me 30 years later. Like, it's the same people. And there's no other film company on the planet that can say that. But it's not because I'm great. It's because we formed bonds early on that said, we're going to do this and we're going to do it right and we're going to have a lot of fun, but we're also going to work our tails off. Mm-hmm. So we just started creating indie content. And at that time, early 90s, you had the indie film movement. The thing that almost killed us was the digital revolution.
Okay.
I had built a film studio. We had film cameras. My people had film art. Like, they look like drug addicts because they have scars from cutting actual film, as you can appreciate. Warner Brothers. And then the digital revolution came and everybody said, well, my cousin can shoot it on this $200 camera and I'm staring at a $250,000 camera.
Yeah.
That I had to get some value out of. So we went into the field for a number of years shooting nature documentaries on film, which we still make money off of because you can repurpose that.
Yeah.
But we had to learn a new technology. And I learned all my culture and change management from that experience once again. And that's our whole mission now is stop listening to the BS. And you'll get this. People in LA, and I used to have a studio in LA, they sell the poster before they ever make the film. Like,
Yep.
look at this cool poster. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't care about the poster. I want to do the film, right? And I got to get that done first. So I always liked the creation of it.
Hmm.
And I just thought smaller teams who can work together can be more creative because you're going to take more risks and you're going to brainstorm. You're not just doing this, you see the whole field.
Right.
So,
Yeah. No, I think you're exactly right about studios. And my time there was limited, but what I noticed early on was it was all about relationships, who you knew, what's new and sexy right now. Like while I was there, I think it was like the Twilight years, like that movie Twilight. And so it was all about movies with like vampires, and 3D movies were really big during that time because of I think like Avatar came out during that time too, and it was just that was all the rage, right? It was like IMAX, 3D, vampires, musicals. High School Musical was big during that time, and so those were the scripts that we were getting in. And so you're right to liken it to. It kind of felt like a factory, and when it's like that, how can you be creative in an environment like that?
yeah, and you see it now. Like, are there any original movies coming out? They're
Not
all
really. I mean,
rehashes.
I really enjoyed. Man, what was that movie with Michael B. Jordan?
Sinners,
Yes, that was
it's a
awesome.
great
That
movie.
that was an original movie, and it I think it stuck around at the box office for a long time, and I think everyone realized, oh, this is really cool, and this is unlike anything I've seen before.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, but most of them are rehashes for one reason. There's no fallback to make your money back. There's no DVD market.
Hmm.
Like in the old days, we could raise money because all we have to do is sell this many units, and we already had distribution for that.
Yeah, yeah,
Through library associations, through distributors and wholesalers and retailers. We're like, okay, if it doesn't get to TV or the box office, we can still recoup our money. What are you recouping your money on now? It's a
yeah,
much bigger risk, and I can see the studios like almost becoming so conservative. Like,
right.
let's just make the things that already have a very strong following.
Hmm.
So you see more creative stuff on the streaming services.
Yeah, one of the things that we all saw a lot of, even with the film studios being conservative, is all the comic book films, the franchises. They would continue to invest in that. We all know there's like 1,000 Fast and the Furious movies, and and with these comic book films, I really enjoy DC and Marvel. I like them both. I got lost. I was like, what is going on in this Marvel world? Like, there's another one coming out. Like, it went way past my head.
Got convoluted.
Yeah, much so. What do you think about this Netflix Warner Brothers thing?
Well, we'll see what happens. We see these mega mergers, and then you see them all blow up, right?
Hmm.
I kind of lived through the Time Warner AOL
Yep.
and the Chase City stuff or City Group. So
Hmm.
I mean, I think every industry kind of ebbs and flows. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. You worry about the first answer they always have is to remove people
Hmm.
to save headcount and money, which you understand from a Excel spreadsheet point of view, but puts a burden on a
Yeah.
lot of other industries because you come into a town as in the film world and you're spending a decent amount of money. I think last time we shot in Syracuse, which was years ago, we were spending, and this is small budget, 10 grand a week in local services.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, there's this guy I follow. His name is Vern Harnish, and he does like the scaling up methodology. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. And he has a quote where he says, "Still the greatest competitive advantage amongst everything. It's not AI. It's not this. It's teamwork. The ability of just like a team to be able to get together, bond together, and figure something out. Something that small companies can always have an advantage over like much bigger companies."
yeah, and I love that, and I'll have to look at that stuff because we live by it. But it's also not pretty, right? Team like kumbaya, right? We argue all the time,
Yeah.
but it's not a disrespectful argument. okay, you can say whatever you want, but you just got to back it up. And when you don't back it up, just be quiet.
Right.
Because now it's just an opinion.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. I like that. Being able to substantiate it. I think that's important too.
well, then it's just talk,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we make our clients give us metrics from the marketplace, and when they don't have it, we have to go out and create it for them because you can't make a strategy without numbers.
Yeah.
Like what's going on in your market. Like if you don't know, and most businesses don't really follow their clients and their numbers, right?
Hmm.
They just think it's always going to be there or it's good enough. So,
Yeah. So Bob, what's the company now that you're spending most of your day to day on? Like, what's the number one thing that you're waking up being like, yes, this, because you got a lot, right? That you're going through. So I'm curious what it is.
well, on a certain level, when you have this portfolio, it's whatever crisis is happening takes up time, and it's usually overnights to right. So that's the fallacy of entrepreneurship. You just set it and forget it. You're always working in it. If you're
Hmm.
doing it right, you're always working in it. You're always feeling the kind of temperature of your team and your clients. But we're doing this big build out of a consulting firm that I swore I would never have from my past experience with consultants. But in order to finish a private equity deal, we had to create a scale model because I have really high skilled deploy teams. They jump into an area, but I lived in Brazil. I disappeared for a number of months in Brazil.
Hmm.
I'm on a project, not very scalable. And it takes a long time to train people to be truly autonomous and working at a high execution level. So obviously taking all this knowledge and breaking it into consulting packages made sense. And it's very scalable. So we've been spending a lot of time making sure because we JV'd with a consulting firm to kind of build this faster because I don't want to reinvent the wheel.
Hmm.
So just getting the cultures aligned and getting the packages out to business owners and so forth and being different because we didn't want to be like everybody else. Like we downsell all the time. Like if you don't need this service, why would you do it?
Yeah.
And we move really fast. So we're not trying to sit in, 6, 9 month retainers.
Hmm.
So
How does it work? Like, does someone like request these services, or do you buy the companies first and then do it, or how
how do
does
you
it all
get
work? Yeah.
for the clients?
Uh huh. Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, our targets are business owners. Like that's our target market because everybody in my organization has run their own business at a certain point. So we're all operators. We all get it.
Yeah.
We've all walked in the shoes. So we've created a number of steps. Like one's a micro course do-it-yourself model where you can just watch 10 or 15, 20-minute videos on a certain topic. And we're building that now using my film studio, obviously, to build most of the content. That's a do-it-yourself model. You want to learn about fundraising? Here's the reality of fundraising. You want to learn about how to use AI in your business because every business doesn't need AI? Watch this 20-minute course, right?
Mhm.
And whatever the topics are, it's all the operations of a business so that people can just do it themselves.
Mhm.
And then we have consulting packages, very, very triage, like what's your biggest problem? We'll fix it in 90 days.
Mhm.
Or we'll give you a different answer, right? Or in less time. And then that goes all the way up to us JVing or partnering with other firms to extend our resources and extend the services they can offer. So
Mhm.
we've built this very flexible consulting model. But really, it's to meet them where they are, not
Yeah.
to force something on them that they probably don't need. And, they're stretching their dollars. We're trying to work within their budgets. And a lot of times when they can't pay the whole thing, we take some kind of incentive plan because that's how we've built a lot of our companies.
So kind of like a pay for performance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the number one thing that you're hearing entrepreneurs say right now that they need help with? Like, what is there like a common theme or pattern that you're hearing from them?
Yeah, like, and I'll just share a mistake I made when I launched in Focus Brands, right? When I launched it, everybody came to me for logos. Brand to me is not a logo, it's a
Mhm.
system built to your resources and what you're trying to do. The biggest thing that we're working on right now at a client facing perspective is taking the business they created and making it a business because most people start companies or build companies and it's just a job. They've
Mhm.
literally just created a job for themselves. They're not running a business because they have no systems in place
Yeah.
to delegate, to train, right? Roles, responsibilities. They don't have any of that. So we're doing a lot of work of building out, even at a smaller business level, systems so the owner doesn't have to be always on a wheel.
Hmm. Yeah,
So, and
working
that's
on the business
burnout,
instead of in it.
right? Sorry.
No, sorry, I was just going to say working on the business instead of in it.
Yeah, and there's always a fine line, right? Because a
Yeah.
lot of times the person who started the company is the expert, but
Hmm.
they never get other people in. They don't have the manuals and the SOPs, standard operating procedures, to transfer that knowledge.
Hmm.
Because no one's going to be you starting your company, but you got to get them close, and
Yeah.
hopefully they're better than you. My goal is all my people are better than me. I don't want to be the bottleneck in this company.
Yeah. Yeah. My perspective has always been like if they can get to like 80% of what I would do, that's a win.
Mhm.
And normally, if you go with that, then eventually they end up doing it better than you, anyways. Then,
Yeah, and they just have to have the environment that allows them to make mistakes. We only learn by mistake. I wouldn't have built this if I didn't have that massive mistake. At the moment, it absolutely sucked,
hmm,
and I hated the universe and whatever. But once you pick yourself off the floor again, you're like, okay, what can I never do again? And one of them is that, which is nice now, is I do not build massive inventories for anything. We
hmm,
are a very lean shop all the time because that company went under because we had a warehouse full of product and
hmm,
we didn't have anybody buying it. So
hmm. Yeah, inventory is tough.
it is.
It is. Yeah. Um, have you been a micromanager before, or has this kind of always been your style?
No, I hate micro.
Yeah.
I bristle at it.
Mm.
I just don't like the whole thing. One is I don't like people just sitting there waiting for them to be told what to do. Like, is your brain in neutral? So I don't like that to begin with. I'm always constantly in motion, and I kind of try to create that kinetic energy everywhere.
Hmm.
So I've never been a micromanager. I'm not good at it. If you need a micromanager, don't call us or don't call me. I'll find somebody that can micromanage for you. I will spend time training the staff so they don't need to be micromanaged. That's, I think, the gift to give to everybody because it's a lot more rewarding for the staff too. Why do people leave? It's
Yeah.
not because they hate the work usually. It's because they hate
Their
the
boss.
environment.
Yeah, the boss, manager, environment, it feels
Right.
constrictive or not rewarding. Yeah.
And I'll support leaders and managers. They're not trained either.
Yeah.
They don't know. If you don't train your staff, all of them, they're not going to know. It doesn't just come out of the air into your head. So we try to take all those experiences and make it digestible for our clients who haven't lived the same universe, right?
Hmm. How do you support your own internal team of leaders, senior managers? Like, is there some sort of system that you use? Because I'm sure what you had said earlier, you're taking these temperature checks of your businesses and you can figure out kind of what's going on in each. And I'm sure you pick up on tons of stuff throughout the day, throughout the week. So, is there some sort of forum that you use to discuss this with them?
Well, one is absolute open communication and no punitive when mistakes are made. The only time you're going to lose any position here is if you hide the mistakes.
Mm,
If you screw up, you know who to contact immediately.
hmm.
Like it's not let's wait and see if this blows over and nobody pays attention to it. That's not the way to kind of attack anything. So one is just instant communication. The other one is we have standing very quick meetings every week. Like every week we just these aren't long drawn out board meetings. These are like 10-15 minute check-in or a constant text stream
Hmm.
that says, "Hey, I need help with this," or and most of my senior members know that that's not a negative on them if they're like, I'm not getting this thing done right. I need some other help. So
Hmm.
we're always shifting.
Sounds like people feel very safe in the companies, right? Like they're
Well,
able to speak their mind and ask for help when they need it.
I hope they do, right?
Mhm.
That's my goal all the time is this is not something where and listen, an owner, and I said this a million times, you have to defy physics and gravity
Mhm.
because crap has to roll up to you. You can't let it go to your people. They can't be kicked when something goes wrong. You have to absorb it. Give them the glory. If you really want them to stay, like honor them because they're working. and they're important. And those people on the front lines are the most important thing you have. And you better train them so you get the most out of them. And you got to give them some flexibility to kind of, see the world. They see the world differently anyway. So let's hear about it and just put it in a framework that says you got to just prove it to me. Just because you think it doesn't mean it's right. Just because I have an idea doesn't mean I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
do you have like a set list of like core values that you go by? Yeah.
yeah, I just shared it with a buddy in New Zealand. It's very short. It's literally one page. It's our operational system of what matters and what doesn't. And the biggest one is your job isn't to be right, it's to get it right. And that means there's a lot of trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can absorb that and you can let your ego down, because listen, we all have vanity, we all have ego. If you can let it down and say, okay, I'm safe in this environment, this team is going to be really sarcastic and they're going to make fun of me if I screw up, but I'm not going to lose my job.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And there's no disrespect and no judgment against me. That's an ideal place to flourish for the right person. Right. Yeah. There are other people come into this organization and we do a 90-day pilot. Right. Before anything else happens, you're spending time doing different work so we can see you in the trenches. Cause that's where, everybody, the honeymoon stage is always nice and everybody's perfect. And then one thing happens and they can't handle it.
Yeah.
They're not invited to stay.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah. I like that 90-day period. It's important to see other members of the team in the trenches, see how they respond to situations when they don't work out, what their demeanor is, how they ask for help, if they ask for help at all.
Yeah. And that's not for everybody. Some people just want to be told what to do, right? Micromanaging works for certain people.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is you're not going to be here.
Yeah.
And we're very clear. That has nothing to do with them as people. It's got to make. I don't work with some of my best friends because we would never work well together.
Wow, how many people interview someone when you bring them into your company? Like, what does that process look like? You had said like you do a very good job of vetting before they come in. What is that vetting process?
So it starts with triangulated interviews where different people interview, and the funny thing is most people don't remember what they say.
Okay.
So we always compare notes, and they're very short interviews. These 2-hour, 3-hour interviews, that's pointless. But then if they even get through that phase, and a lot of people that's where it stops.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few questions that we've created over the time that literally just weed people out. Mm-hmm. Like they're answered, okay, we don't have to go any further. And then they go through the executive development program we developed. And it's literally them being tested in a lot of different environments to see where they're well suited and where they're not. And if they can keep up with the culture, because the culture is not always, arms wide open. If you're not used to a culture of openness and rawness and directness, it's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't work for everybody. And that's the biggest vet part. I do alignment and fit way before skill. I can train, or we can train almost anything. Mm-hmm. I can't train you to be self-motivated, hold yourself accountable, not needing micromanaging, right? That's a philosophy, that's a personality. I need that to fit my culture because I don't want to screw it up.
Yeah.
I am the shield to all of my people.
Yeah.
They've built a beautiful place. I can't take credit for it, but I have to protect it.
Yeah. I love that. I feel like that's the number one job of like the person at the top or the CEO is to protect the culture at all cost.
Yeah, and you should see yourself as the door opener in the bottom.
Mm.
Like I'm almost like, the concierge at the hotel.
I like that. How did you learn all this? Like, is this through trial and error, or did you attend workshops along the way? Like, what's helped you develop?
Everything's trial. My background's bio and organic chemistry, so I didn't take business courses. Maybe that's the blessing. I observe. I learned how to active listen and observe very early on because we all know that most communication doesn't happen verbally. Mm-hmm. So if you're aware of that and trial and error. I had bad employees. I didn't want to go through that again. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to have to keep looking behind me or checking up on people. One is, what human likes to be checked up on?
Yeah.
For one, if you know the goal, I never understood if somebody got a job done, why they can't just go on to the next job or why they have to sit there for a few extra hours. It makes no sense to me. If the company's being run right, if they do it in 10 minutes, I'm not just going to pay them for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, your value is the fact that you have all this experience and know how to do it. It just never made sense to me. And I could never sit anywhere just passing the time. So I don't want anybody in my organization to say, I just got to sit at my desk because I'm getting paid till 5.
Yeah.
That drives me insane.
I inevitably someone's going to do something wrong. How do you give that feedback to them? Like, what do you, how does, without being micromanagey or, holding their hand, how do you just give that feedback out to your team?
Well, micromanaging doesn't mean you're not supervising, right? So one is they know that there is a collective leadership team where they can go for any reason. And it's not just business, right? Because we all become therapists, support groups. You become a community and a family. And I use family a lot. It might be my Italian New York upbringing. I just use family a lot. It's not always about the business. It's about other things. And I love flex time. Like, the only thing I can, listen, we can work 20, 22 hours a day. The flexibility I had allowed me to spend a lot of time with my children as they were growing up. And I didn't miss anything. It didn't mean I didn't work. It just meant that I moved what I had to do a few hours either way. And I gave everybody that ability from the first moment. I was like, you don't get time back. We can figure out everything else. We don't get the time back. So, but it's still, you supervise when things are going sideways, and we watch metrics. Everything has metrics, right?
Yeah.
So if things are sliding sideways, you talk to them. And sometimes, that they are not up to the task. We've put people on leave to go figure out, or whatever problem they have, like, give them time. And at the end of that time, if they still haven't fixed it, they don't have to come back. And the people that screw up and hide it are gone almost immediately. That's not even a conversation. And that also applies to me. If I make a mistake in my company and I don't own it because my ego says I should know better, then I should be replaced. And my card does not say CEO, it says current CEO. Which is a nod to, I want somebody to take it, quite honestly. But
I think we're all looking to be replaced, to be honest.
Well, but the relationship shouldn't be replaced. I've had a number of people retire. We still talk a lot.
Really?
And they're also a valuable asset to me, just from a perspective point of view. It's almost like a de facto advisory team.
Yeah.
Because they'll see what we're doing. Like, what? Yeah, I won't use the words they use with me, but they're like, what are you doing? Like, what do you think you're doing over here? I was like, okay, let me explain it to you.
I was with a friend the other day, and they were reading this book. I forget what the name of the book is, but it talks about the 3 jobs of a CEO, and it boils down to people, culture, and numbers. What do you think about that? Would you add anything to that list? Remove anything?
That's pretty encapsulating for somebody who understands that a business is the people, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a good summary.
Yeah.
I think the numbers can be dissected a lot because, and I'm not calling anybody out, but there were certain companies that got high praise during COVID for all the numbers they drove, but they were the only companies open. So that CEO got huge bonuses. Those CEOs got huge bonuses for no reason.
Yeah.
That's a macro trend. That's a slice in time. And then the numbers went back to normal and everything else. So I think the numbers have to have some kind of subjectivity. Sometimes we've had bad years, and I'm not going to point one person and say it's your fault. I mean, we've had bad years and we've screwed up, or the markets went sideways. So, you got to kind of look at the whole picture before you make those. What's happening now? People are just being laid off. Right, because the numbers aren't where they thought they would be. Most number projections are just pie in the sky anyway.
Yeah.
But, you're affecting a lot of culture. And I think that's going to come back and bite companies that just say, I can get rid of them because I can just go hire other people. The revolving door model. I'm not a fan of that. I get certain companies have to do it, but I am not a fan of that model of business. And I don't think I ever will be.
Yeah.
But if you see me doing it, you should call me out on it, because
I will.
Then I'm full of crap.
You've done a lot of traveling, it seems like, in your career.
Yeah, we've traveled.
Brazil, Mexico, Puerto Rico.
A lot of Europe. Yeah, I mean, that's the deploy model. Why, when VC and PE companies come around, they're like, that's not scalable.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, you learn a lot. I mean, a lot of the systems we have in place now, I would never have learned from a chair.
Yeah.
And I always say this, like, I have to be in the field for a certain amount of time because it's a practice skill. It's like a sport. And we were talking about sports. If you don't do customer discovery and active listening and observing and just seeing the way people work together or don't work together, you're gonna those wither and die.
Hmm.
It needs practice. That's why I don't understand people who can stay behind a desk the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like what you said earlier about, getting down on the ground. I feel like if you liken business to like a battle or a war, all wars are fought with intel, and you collect that intel when you're on the ground, hearing what customers are saying, hearing what your people are saying, and then you're able to take those things back and deploy it into the strategy, and you can talk about real things happening rather than sitting up in a glass tower.
And that ties back to kind of the biggest thing we're seeing in the consulting division, going back from job to running a business, is integrating that sales, marketing, and BD space,
Mhm.
because your boots on the ground are your BD and salespeople.
I
And
agree.
if they don't have a direct line to marketing, your marketing's flying on their own.
Hmm.
So that's a lot of what we're doing right now in the consulting stuff, just integrating that with systems, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
training. I don't want to ever forget that.
And what? Say that again.
And training.
Training.
Like
Yeah.
you can't just put, and I've seen this in companies we've been brought into in the last month or so. Oh, we told them to use AI.
Hmm.
Okay, great. Did you show them how to use AI, how to prompt it, how to check it? Because most of it's not accurate.
Yeah. A lot of it's not accurate. Yeah.
Right. I like, no, they just use it. I was like, okay, great. And then it's their fault when they make big mistakes. Yes.
Rule of thumb for you: how long does it take to integrate someone into a company? And I would include training within that piece, right? But for you to be like,
Yeah.
okay, this person's they're in it now.
I mean, I think 90 days is good to get people comfortable in themselves. I'm going to say it's probably a month or two after that until they're fully functioning.
Hmm.
But it also depends on the job,
True.
right? Depends on the function in the company. There's certain functions you can figure out in a few weeks and you're fine.
Hmm.
Most of the level of people we're bringing in, it's probably they're comfortable. I'm going to say 6 months. For one reason, people are very uncomfortable about sharing what they think that's against or what they feel is against. Customer discovery, the biggest mistake people make are leading questions. If I say, tell me the last time you had a bad experience, you might not have had one. You're now thinking of a bad experience.
Hmm.
Like they're not used to just openly sharing what they see or observing what the company was doing that they're reporting on. They're trying to fit in a box. And it takes a little practice not to fit in a box.
It's almost like you're encouraging people to be creative, be a little outlandish, be their own person, and have a little bit of flair.
Why not?
Yeah.
Be yourself. So my biggest thing is I'm too stupid to make things up.
Yeah.
I learned that at a very young age. If I make something up, I'm going to forget it.
Yeah.
Then it's going to come and bite me on the ass again.
Hmm.
So I've lived in this world where I'm just brutally blunt
Hmm.
and direct. No disrespect, but if you're saying something stupid and I have a reason to say it's stupid or inaccurate, I'm going to say it. I'm not going to sit here and nod and say, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's a New Yorker thing. You've been in New York,
Hmm.
friendliest city on the planet, but they'll tell you like it is.
Yeah. No bullshit.
Right. So in that environment, we are trained from a young age in education to listen to the teacher and spit it back at them, and then I get a good grade. So
Yeah.
we're training them to be robotic,
Hmm.
not to creatively think or critically analyze. It's just to rinse and repeat.
Hmm.
That's not going to work.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. I mean, businesses change almost every day.
Yeah. And I feel like being raw and authentic and honest and transparent, those are things that will never go out of style.
But also the comfort of saying there's going to be people that absolutely hate me for who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable with that because that's a brand to me. Lovers and haters. People
Yeah.
in the middle, like shrugging their shoulders at us, that doesn't help us.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know who don't like me, and that's fine. You
Yeah.
go live your life and leave me alone. And, I don't need to be liked by everybody. And I think that's a skill that we should teach our children. Like, everyone's
Yeah.
not going to like you. And that's fine for no reason that you just oil and water. Why doesn't it mix? Some
Right,
chemical
right. And if
compound,
you're living
right?
your life trying to make everyone like you, well, then you're probably not being true to yourself then, right?
Yeah, as long as you're not trying to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're at a time where we're seeing a lot of people that were held on pedestals kind of being chopped down, but
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. I hear that. As we're talking more and more, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's totally from New York. So like
oh,
you grew up,
me?
yeah, you, yeah. I hear it now. Now I'm like, oh yeah, he's right for sure.
My accent, I don't really speak English. I get it.
It's the accent, and it's also like the bluntness and everything. Because a lot of people I went to school with in Syracuse, they're from like Long Island, and like that's just how they
Not
are.
part of New York, though. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah,
I'm just kidding. I lived on Long Island, so I just
yeah.
kidding. Yeah.
So before we wrap up, I want to know from your perspective, like what does the next 5 years look like for you? I feel like you've done an incredible job. Just by hearing your story, there's a lot that I've learned today. You've built an incredible company built on the basis of retention, culture, speaking your mind. What does the next 5 years look like for you? Where are you trying to take this?
Well, we're trying to scale it to a much bigger organization, right? We've been very fortunate to run for a lot of years. Now we're in massive scale, but also we want to extend and build a network of collaborators and partners who are going to help us get there. We're not going to do it all internally. So, that's a lot of work. But also, as you build, there's a lot of work to make sure you maintain the bonds.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have very distinct companies in our portfolio, but there's intra communication because they rely on each other. Like a lot of the companies we have in the portfolio are slices of what a business needs: fundraising, distribution, marketing, sales, right? I can go on and on. But if they're not all in kind of cohesion, then we're not doing justice to our clients because they're not getting the full force of a portfolio. So there's a lot of work to do and to make sure that we maintain the teamwork and culture long after I'm gone because I can't be here forever and I don't want this to just disappear. So,
Yeah, I find that admirable is that you want to build something that is still running and doing its thing even after you're no longer like involved in the trenches and the day to day.
yeah, and most of my staff say I'm pretty useless anyway, so I might as well leave now.
I hope they're watching this and they agree.
They'll send you notes. Yeah, you're useless. Yeah.
Listen, it was really great meeting you.
Likewise.
I learned a lot about you today, and I really like the way that you've done your thing. Like this is cool. And it comes across as very raw and authentic. Don't meet a lot of people like that, so I appreciate this.
I appreciate the conversation.